For my 5 minutes of questioning. I want to respond to some of the allegations contained in the ranking member's opening statement. And Mr. Thompson, I'm assuming that you didn't write that statement because you have known me for some period of time. I know you to be someone who that I have a long-standing relationship with, and do not believe that you would write an opening statement attacking mine or the Christianity of any other member of this committee. I don't believe that you would weaponize my religious beliefs. I don't believe that you would criticize me because I choose to teach Sunday school in my church, and to somehow say that because I'm a Sunday school, because I'm a Christian, that me being a part of this hearing somehow, in some way, flies in the face of my religious beliefs. Because what we're doing here today is we are not casting a broad net on every non-governmental organization, every nonprofit. We are instead focusing this hearing on those who have profited off of the illegal immigration that we saw under the Biden-Harris administration. I have mentioned nothing in my statement about nonprofits such as Red Cross, Catholic Charities, Samaritan's Purse, Doctors Without Borders, nonprofits who actually take money and use it for the good, who are out there collecting money from their congregation, from members of the community who wish to give back. Instead, this hearing is focused on those handful of nonprofits who received their money almost exclusively from grants from the federal government, but yet still claim to be nonprofits. Ms. Hopper, you mentioned two of those in your written testimony, two that I referenced in my opening statement, those two being Endeavors, who, according to my information that I received, Endeavors received 97% of their funding from federal or local grants. They weren't out raising money. They weren't out there ringing the bell there at Christmas asking people to give money. They weren't in churches asking members of the congregation to please give to these organizations. They were instead an arm of the federal government in that they received 97% of their funding. And then Southwest Key Properties was an NGO that blew past that. 99% of their funding came from grants from the federal government. And what did these organizations do with that? You talk about in your testimony, Ms. Hopper, you talk about Endeavor, that in 2020, Endeavor reported $52 million in revenue. That in 2021, they reported $658 million in revenue. A $600 million increase in a year, with 97% of that money coming from the federal government. And that in 2022, they reported a record $1.18 billion from the federal government, or at least 97% of that. You talk about how executives for Endeavor padded their pockets, that with this increase in revenue comes increase in salary, that the compensation for the CEO doubled. You talk about these particular CEOs that I mentioned, instead of using that money to protect children, they were treating this money like venture capitalists. You also stated in there that an Endeavor's individual, someone within their organization, said that the border crisis was a boom for business. In an article from the New York Post, they talk about another one of these nonprofits. They talk about Southwest Key. The headline says, Texas nonprofit housing migrant kids took $3 billion in grants from Biden administration and boosted executive salaries up to 139% to pull the plug. And so I am offended when people from the other side say that we're not being Christian, that we don't want to help people. We're not saying that all nonprofits are bad. Many of us support and give money and volunteer to those. But this hearing today is focused on those nonprofits which were government funded, which were used by the Biden-Harris administration to continue to move people across the border against the will of the public and without the authorization of Congress. So with that, I yield back, and I now recognize my friend from California, Mr. Carrera, for 5 minutes for his questioning of the witnesses.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I do hope to continue to work with you as a friend here in this committee. I would also, though, want to point out that some are